Before the Taliban came, I had attended university, and it was the best time of my life. But after the Taliban came into control, I was forced to stay home for 5 years. I will never forget this long, dark period in my life. Since I was a child, it was my dream to be a writer. I wanted to study literature at the university. Now, I just stayed home, depressed, with no hobbies. There didn't seem to be anything to write about. I didn't see any of my friends anymore. I was not allowed to go out, and I had no way to get any news from my classmates. My mother told one of the neighbors the story about the taxi driver and that being at home was killing me. The neighbor told my mother about a tailoring course for women and suggested that I should go to it. My mother asked her if there was a risk from the Taliban, and the neighbor said no, because the instructor has permission from the Taliban to teach. The neighbor explained that she has 2 young daughters attending every day, and they were learning how to sew clothes. In the beginning, I did not want to go. I told my mother that this would not give me happiness because I was so afraid to go out. My mother told me that this course would give me more opportunities than just learning to sew, and I would find something to make me happy. She said that there was no risk and I should not be scared. My mother finally insisted that I go for a few days, and if I did not like it, then I could quit. She said that she would take me, or if I wanted, she would ask my father to take me and pick me up. So I decided to try. On the first day, I didn't talk to anyone except to respond to questions. The next day, I didn't want to go, but my mother forced me. My mother went with me for a week. Finally, I was no longer afraid and would go with the other girls. One day, during a break, I saw 2 women exchanging books. One of them gave money to the other one. I was curious about what was happening, so I asked them what they were doing. The woman, called Fakra, told me that she had found a library near her house and asked the owner of the library to rent her books. The owner of the library told her that no one should inform the Taliban about this because the punishment would be severe. Fakra rented the books and read them at home. She also rented them to her close friends and gave the money to the owner. In this way, the owner of the library found extra money, and the women and Fakra found a way to build a network for deprived women in her neighborhood to have access to books. I asked Fakra if I could borrow the book for a few days when she finished reading it. Fakra said yes, but I must be careful. Fakra told me that she could bring another book tomorrow if I wanted, and I said, yes, please. Now I was excited to go to school. The next day during the break, Fakra gave me a heavy book called Fall of an Angel. I took the book and impatiently waited for the rest to be free to read. When I got home, I went to my room and started to read the book. I became so interested in reading the book that within a few hours I had read half of the book. I cried a lot because the angel in the book suffers so many sorrows. When it became dark, my mother came to my room and asked why I was crying. I told her the story of the angel and then all about Fakra. My mother saw how delighted I was to go to class, and she noticed that I would come home with 2 or 3 books. I read a dozen books during those weeks, and they brought me the light after the darkness and gave me hope. Whenever I finished a chapter of a book, I would go to the sitting room and tell the story to my family. They were happy to hear the story, and we had long discussed about the books. The books gave me passion again, and I no longer felt like sitting in a corner of my room thinking about the Taliban. My brother told his friend about some of the stories I had read, and his friend told my brother that he also had lots of books that he would loan to me. After 3 months, my father asked me to write the most important sayings of the books I had read in my diary. I remembered that my father has a diary and wrote important sayings in it. I bought a beautiful notebook and a colored pen for myself. I started writing in my diary, and I still have it. By reading books and writing in my diary, I noticed that I was not sad anymore. My mother asked me one day if I liked my tailoring course, and I told her that I love to go because besides learning tailoring, I am learning so much from the books. I told her the story of Fakra, the woman who brought me the books. Before the Taliban came, she was a teacher. Like me, Fakra had become very depressed. But when she found the hidden library, she was happy. She built a network of women who borrowed books from the library. Fakra became my closest friend during a time when nothing made me happy. She was the one who changed my life and brought me happiness. She opened the door of hope for me by loaning me the books.